Are you a healer, witch, creative, or magical entrepreneur who's ready to fill your high-ticket one-on-one or group coaching program, and you want a sales page that will do the selling for you? Maybe you're tired of having a calendar full of sales calls and you want a sales page that can clearly articulate your offer and guide interested clients to feel ready to buy without needing to talk to you first. Maybe you already have a sales page and people are clicking on it but not reaching out, and you want to feel clear on what to say and what not to say to turn interested people into actual buyers. Having sales pages for my offers has led to filling a high-ticket group coaching program with 10 clients at $1,000 each while traveling on vacation for 2 weeks and launching using repurposed content. Having 5-figure months from sales into my $5,000 evergreen mastermind with no live launching beyond daily social media content. Signing clients into my $17,000 private mentorship program with no sales calls. When you book my Cosmic Sales Intensive, you'll walk away with a full, clear, compelling sales page for your high-ticket offer that will attract ready-to-buy clients and that you can continue to make sales with for years to come. Clients who have been through this offer have created a sales page that went on to sell out a high-ticket relationship coaching mastermind, had 20 applications within 48 hours of publishing, sold several $15,000 private mentorship packages, and even had a 6-figure launch with the sales page and content strategy we created within just a few weeks. Stop losing people with fluffy language that sounds the same as so many others in your industry, and clearly articulate why your work is worth $5,000 to $10,000 plus, even when you sell things like astrology, human design, breathwork, mindset coaching, or energy work. Book your Cosmic Sales Intensive now at withsarahmac.com or via the link in my description. This is Sarah Mac and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together, we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a 6-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I'm here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun. Hi everyone, welcome to the Creative Magic Club podcast. I'm so excited to introduce my guest today. We have with us Elizabeth Ruscitto. And she spent 20 years in Silicon Valley and Boston tech leadership, managing $100 million in products and building communities of over 4 million members across 180 countries. She eventually left corporate when the cost of staying outweighed everything the title and salary promised. Now, as a career pivot and executive coach specializing in nervous system regulation, she helps high-performing professionals do the same, build a visible professional brand, translate their experience, and become a top candidate in any industry. Elizabeth is also a client of mine, so I know her and her work intimately. I cannot wait for you to get to know her. She is a genius. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me so much, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited to dive in. So tell us your story. How did you get to having this business and doing this work that you do today?
Absolutely. So as you said, I was working in tech for over 20 years. And along the way, I just loved working with people and communities, helping them build their businesses on the platforms and tools that we were building. And I loved developing my team members around me, helping them grow into their fields and with their experience and really see what was next for them. And it wasn't until 2020 when, everyone in the world decided, hey, this is a really great time to take stock and think about what's next for myself. And I had been facing burnout for the second time and said, I really want to take a break and do meaningful, fulfilling work. I'd been doing that, but I knew there was another stage, another calling ahead for me. And so I thought back over my career and said, what is the thing that I actually was always gravitating towards, but maybe didn't realize what I was doing? And so for me, that was coaching.
Tell us about that transition, because I'm sure, there's a lot of people listening who have like been through something similar or who are thinking about going through something similar. And, as someone who like, I never had a corporate career, I was always freelance. So I know that like making that leap from a corporate paycheck, a steady salary to entrepreneurship, like that's a big leap. And I notice certain patterns in people's stories. So I'm always curious to hear that, like, how did that pan out for you to really like take that leap into entrepreneurship, and what was that transition like?
Yeah, it was funny. People would always ask me about my career because I worked with startups and in tech, like, when are you going to do something? When are you going to start your own thing? Like, when is it going to be? And I said, I've never found something that I want to work on for 10 years, or would ask like a family member and pay them to work with me on until I came to that idea. But I'll have to say, really making that leap, it's a hard thing. Entrepreneurship, you don't realize, makes you face all the stories you didn't realize you were carrying. It wasn't a safe thing for me at all, being able to leave a six-figure plus career, and do I have the safety net, whether that's financial security, whether it's stability, could I still honor all of my commitments, right? But was I also going to be fulfilled and, was I going to be energized and lit up by everything that I wanted to do? It was really hard toward the end there. I loved everything I was doing, but it got harder to wake up every day with the same energy and go into work, when you're burnt out.
So was it the burnout that like pushed you to leave?
Yeah, it really was. I definitely realized that I needed to take some time to regroup and figure out, like, what is the next evolution? Where could I serve in the world? I'd always done volunteering through what I was doing, and so I didn't quite know what was next, but I took some time to start volunteering. And that's actually a lot of what I tell my clients to do, because I was able to make amazing connections in so many places and really high-level people. And because I wasn't trying to meet them for a job or to get something out of them, right? I was able to form these great relationships. And I ended up teaching college for a little while in business and how to start a startup. And I was actually really coaching those kids over time, I realized. And I just had so much fun helping them develop their vision, step into their power, figure out their story, figure out their narrative, how to talk about themselves confidently, carry that into what they were doing, that I realized that this was something that I was called to do, and stepping into this next evolution was a really important thing. But wow, thinking about visibility, being someone who was in tech and had this high level career, like, what were people going to think about me next? What were all my people on LinkedIn going to be like, what is she doing now, right? And so we are always our first client, right? So having to work on the stories, having to work on visibility, having to work on nervous system regulation, and figure out, okay, how do I transfer from burnout into this grounded, confident self that I really wanted to come back to and return to?
Yeah, and I think that's so relatable. I think anyone who's ever stepped into coaching has had that epiphany of like, oh, this is just kind of who I am, and this is what I'm naturally really good at. But yeah, closing that gap from like, oh, I love to do this and I would do this for free and I have been doing this for free, to how do I monetize this and turn this into a business and really, stand behind this skill, which is obviously such a powerful skill. And yeah, Elizabeth has a Taurus 11th house stellium, and that's something that, we've talked a lot about as like a major part of her story. Like this volunteer work and being very community oriented and humanitarian driven is like really, that's one of your gifts and something that you were very naturally drawn towards, which just did open so many doors for you and kind of became, it's more of an unconventional career strategy for people in corporate who are like looking to create new opportunities for themselves. And I'm sure there's a lot of crossover with that, because I know the work that you do with your clients, you really help them to go through that process of identifying their own value and their own skills, many of which maybe they've struggled to identify, struggled to articulate. So whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're in corporate, this is such a key skill to be able to open those next level opportunities. And I think personal branding has become more important in corporate now, like more than ever, right? Like, tell me about how you've kind of seen the shift around that and the parallels you see with entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So I spent 20 years in tech, and though I was at different companies, I still was in a very deep career arc, working on developer programs, app store ecosystems, really building APIs and things that other developers built on. And so I worried, would my skills even translate? Could I do something else? How would I make that narrative shift? Did that make sense to anyone? And I see that with a lot of my clients too. They are usually their company's best kept secret. So, like many of us, right? We've got a LinkedIn profile, we connect with people, but if I didn't know you and you weren't in my immediate network, I might not know your opinion on something or how you thought about AI or, something that you were really incredibly passionate about or were an advocate for, like I am for people with executives and professionals with chronic illness, right? And putting that out there. And so, really being able to not only tell your story, but know your superpowers. I love helping people discover that, right? And connect to that and own that. And so that really helps them feel confident in what they're speaking about and what they're sharing. And it's just so important because you're not going to stand out from a sea of thousands of candidates right now with what's going on in the job market. If people aren't able to tell what your opinion is, your personality, and your value in your brand. I like to say your title is borrowed, your experience is not. You own your experience regardless of where you are. And I actually created a framework called RIO to help my clients with that. So revenue, influence, impact, and outcome. So just a super quick story of a client that I work with. She's amazing. I love working with her. She's in her mid-30s. She's a VP at a Fortune 500, but she'd been at her company her entire career. She started there after undergrad and she's still there today. And she came to me and she's like, I don't know if what I've been doing will allow me to ever go anywhere else if anything were to happen in this job market. Or, I don't know if I can do anything else. I said, so tell me about something that really went well recently. And she said, well, I presented in front of an entire town hall. And afterwards, my boss came up to me and said I did a really good job. And, people like kept the conversation going. And I said, tell me a little more. I know there's more here. Well, it turns out two of her C-level executives stood up on stage, recognized her. The way she told that story, she got buy-in from everyone. We figured out her superpower was helping people realize the impossible. And so something that was really abstract or maybe far away was much, much easier for them to say, okay, we can work towards that. She got buy-in. She used her influence to build relationships to tell that story. And she got a $12,000 bonus plus extra stock because she did so well in that conversation, right? And she's been using that framework also in her storytelling at work and in her volunteer work as well as a leader. And so really being able to own your experience, that's how it can be so powerful in someone's story.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And it's just, it's such that common thread, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're in corporate, no matter where it is that you're trying to make more impact or trying to, move up the ladder, make more income, have more influence, grow your visibility, it all comes down to being able to recognize and articulate and communicate effectively your value, and also to be able to ask for what it is that you want. It's like these core skills that I think women are very often missing and that we all need help with too, right? Like it's so hard to see ourselves. I'm so curious to hear your own transformation with that. What did it look like before you had kind of built that capacity, and then what did it take, and then what difference did that make after you had really focused on building those skills?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I agree with women. It's so hard. And that's why I love the work that we did together when we did our before and after stories. Like that really helps you be able to make those through line transitions so easy and just be like, okay, here. And this is what it was for me and before, which we're about to go into. But I think it's also figuring out how do you do it with integrity and alignment, not only your values, but using, your birth chart as well, your natal chart to help you figure out what is for me, what isn't for me. And then you can do it in a way that doesn't feel salesy. It actually, I didn't realize this till I was looking back, kind of the retrospective in my career in 2020. But a story arc for me is that my first job was a startup at 22 and I was making $25K. I brought in $500,000 of annual recurring revenue in 18 months. Like, I killed it there. I can say that objectively now. I wouldn't have been able to say that back then. But
Amazing.
when I asked for a raise, they gave me $2,000. And I realized then that no company would ever care about me as much as I cared about it. And so I always knew there was entrepreneurship on the horizon. I just wasn't curious when. But I realized that I needed to be able to really advocate for myself. It wasn't until actually I left that job that I was able to say that so clearly. This was the work that I did, and here was the outcome and the impact of it. And so I really honed that in over as I went for my job. So by the time that I was 31, just a little over 8 years, I was making over 300K because I was able to own my story, own my skills, and say, this is what I can deliver. And even if I didn't have direct experience or outcome, say, I have this and I really think it could help, and I'm a fast learner, so it could do A, B, and C in this instance, right? And I think that actually translates to working with clients too, as entrepreneurs, and building relationships through authenticity and what matters to you and your values, and being able to say like, hey, I really went through something so similar to you. Let me tell you about it. And here's how I got through it, right? And this is what's on the other side. That's really the power of being able to tell your story too.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And like I always say, it's similar to what you just said about like no one will care about. What is it? What did you say? No one will pay.
A company won't care about you as much as you care about it. So
Yeah, okay. Because I always say no one will value you more than you do, which is like, it's like, and I've seen that so much with people with corporate careers too. It's like, unfortunately, sometimes to get the money that you want, it just requires moving to a different company.
Yes, you can transfer jobs, you can get another salary, right? But it might not be the thing that always fulfills you. And that's kind of the thing in the entrepreneurship dance. Like, do I stay longer, right? I have this amazing set of benefits. I don't think like I have unvested stock shares or things. I'm never going to find something else in this economy, right? But going out volunteering, you can find fulfillment that way. Starting to build a business on the side, so as it takes up over time, right, and your corporate career can wind down, I actually find a lot of clients in that place and help them there. But yeah, you've always said to me, we're usually our first client, and it's what we're going through. And oftentimes what we have to go through right now is also the same exact thing that our clients need to be going through too. And so there's this saying, yes, it's new level, new devil, but I often say it's new level, old devil. So it's those stories that carry with you, right? And that's why I love nervous system regulation so much, because it helps you not carry that stuff either into your next job or into entrepreneurship, because it really does make you face all this stuff when it's just you there, especially as a solo entrepreneur. Those visibility stories, right? Or who am I without my job title? It's that work equals worth, especially as elder millennials we've been like raised with, our actual productive output or our salary or our title equals how valuable we are as a human. And that's just really not the case.
Yeah, it's so true. And you know what? Another thing that I see in a lot of clients, and I don't think you did this, but it's like we have these built-in forgetters, especially as women, especially when our skills are like often outside of the things that are typically recognized and that we are really having to dig to be able to articulate, especially when you bring like intuitive wisdom and you're bringing things that are outside of maybe like what was on your previous job title, right? And when you pivot into entrepreneurship and you're really bringing all of you to your business, to your work, to your client conversations, which is so far beyond what we've been trained to articulate our value around, especially when we've come from careers. A pattern that I see a lot is people just throw all of their prior experience out with the bathwater when they step into entrepreneurship, and they're like, well, now I'm a coach, but like I've never had a coaching client, or like I'm brand new at this, so I'm starting from ground zero. And it's like, no, you're never doing that. And a lot of the time I've helped clients to make a ton of money way faster by really standing on that very embodied wisdom, skills, and experience, but just pivoting it in a slightly different way as they move into entrepreneurship. But like I said, I don't think you did that. I think because you already built that skill to some level in your corporate career and like used that to make a lot of advances in your corporate career, which is amazing. But I'm curious to hear, what were some of those visibility gremlins that you really had to navigate through stepping into really taking a stand for your work in your own business?
Definitely. So I worked with some of the biggest names and the CEOs of tools and apps you probably use every day, and like they're in my network. And so being like, who is she to do this, to talk about this, why is she doing this when she was at this level before? Like, what is going on? And I remember we had a session together where I was like, oh my God, my old CEO just looked at my LinkedIn profile. I don't know if you remember that. And you said something to me that I think really helped with that visibility gremlin. And you were like, I choose to think maybe they need my help in this moment. And so I was choosing to think, hey, maybe he's really curious about what I'm doing. When I think back to his leadership style, yeah, he definitely needed some nervous system regulation and to be able to build authentic relationships, right? And I think being able to also turn inwards before I had to turn outwards again. So turning outwards, another course, another person I worked with, another tool, another thing, but being able to realize I was fully resourced internally and I had everything I needed. And I just had to learn to trust that voice, to trust that his experience. Like you said, people usually throw that experience out, but realizing, hey, yes, I got here. Maybe I brute forced it a little too much, and that's not the way I'm going to operate anymore. I'm going to work with my energy rather than against it. But I think really being able to get quiet and listen to what was my anxiety telling me? Like, what was really the purpose of it? Was it to protect me? Was it really my growth edge? And also being able to talk about my story too, like working with astrology, working with Reiki masters, working with human design. That's not something I talked about in corporate, right? But it's something I definitely bring into my practice. I just look at it as another tool in the toolbox to help me figure out, okay, maybe I'm healing this wound over here in Chiron. That's why I've been struggling with it for so long, right? Or I've got the stellium and Taurus in my 11th house, so many signs there. No wonder why it perfectly aligns with what I'm doing now. And learning how to tell that, like, here is everything I bring to the table. It's not just my experience. It's not just what I've learned now, but all these parts of me as a human and a practitioner. Like you said, that's what people resonate with. And when you're vulnerable and honest, that's the magic there. And so telling that story was hard at first, for sure, but it gets easier.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like you hit the nail on the head with the kind of key skill of entrepreneurship that is not necessarily valued when we're working in a career, which is self-trust, right? And like making that transition from ask, there's nobody else beyond you to ask for what to do next or to make a decision. And like that has to start coming from you. And an exercise that I often talked about with clients, I probably mentioned this with you, which I found really helpful, is kind of like dividing yourself in two and knowing that there's the CEO you and then there's the worker bee you. And if you're not having a good time or you're not getting results, you have to answer to the CEO you and be like, hey, can we do something different? And if you feel under an immense amount of pressure, like you're the one that's giving yourself that pressure, And so it's creating that conversation that maybe was happening externally in previous careers and really being able to have that internally. And being able to embody those different roles and like obviously listening to ourselves is such a wildly different experience and skill set than talking to another human being. So I love that you mentioned that. And I would love for you to share a little bit about like, where were you when you hired me? Like, what did you feel like you really needed support with? Where were you when, in your business journey?
Yeah, I'd say close to 2 years in, maybe around 18 months. And I'd had success, but like you talk about, it was really feast or famine. And I had varying energy because I have several autoimmune diseases and, trying to figure out how to balance that. But also, like you said, those stories. So a lot of, oh, if my butt's in the seat, it's not valid work. Like there's really a new way of working. And I knew, yes, I had the story to tell and I was confident in it, but how do I tell it? How do I translate it? How do I tell the more personal, vulnerable side? That visibility gremlin, that's why I decided to work with you. I'd been listening to your podcast for a long time. We'd been in a different astrology community together, and I got to just know you and really trust your authenticity. And you were the right person, I think, at that time to help hold me both accountable, but hold me in a safe space to say, okay, this is what I've been through, and this is what helped me level up. And this is like really the process in which you can do it in a way that isn't making your nervous system go haywire, right? You can do it with joy. You can do it with play. You can do it with ease. I don't know if I can swear on this, but
Yeah,
you told me once, just let it be fucking easy. And I actually would write that at the top of my planner and my to-do list every single week as a reminder, right? We don't even realize like the way in which we work when we start entrepreneurship is something like we carry with us. And I felt those like creeping back in. And so I was like, all right, Sarah is the person for me. She's just so perfect at copy and being able to translate her stories and ideas so crystal clearly and practically. But you had that side of wisdom too. That's what really gravitated me towards working together.
Oh, amazing. I love that so much. Thank you for that reflection. And what would you say were the most valuable results that you achieved as a result of the work that we did together?
Yeah, it was an interesting process. So you helped me realize that like I didn't have to do the cold DMs because I hated doing them, right? And trying to follow up a sales in the DM and it's like not working. Hey, let's do something different. Like you talked about the CEO. And so I love building relationships with people and really helping them like I love to do in volunteerism. So we designed together that, if you will, kind of study. I did a gratitude campaign in the fall. I knew so many people and my friends were getting laid off. And I said, hey, for anyone who's going through this transition, isn't sure what's next, is having a really hard time, I'm giving away 20 free calls, right? No pitch, just a conversation. And I also was going to use that to write a series of articles. Like I was building like this data. And from those conversations, it was during the holidays, it was at the end of the year, but I ended up having a 27K month in January and I signed my like highest number of clients ever. And yes, it started like in October and November, but those were all people who came in through those conversations.
Incredible. Yay. And for anyone who is thinking about working with me, what would you tell them?
I'd say, honestly, take the leap, but be honest and give yourself space, right? You're going to try to do everything, do all the courses, do the amazing amount of resources, but the magic is really in between in the days. It's in talking to you. It's in the voice notes. It's in learning how to like take your chart, your solar return or your lunar return, and like go on a walk with your voice note and like let it move through your body and like really feel where is that emotion coming up or where is that story sitting for you or where is it stuck maybe and what do you want to do about it? Or hey, I'm just really I'm having a hard time with this. I feel stuck. I'm really not sure what the path is forward. And I say if you're not willing to go there and really be vulnerable, you're not going to get as much out of it as possible. And so if you're really feeling lost or you really want to work on your storytelling and you want to work on how do I create content, how do I like build relationships and an audience in a way that feels really authentic and aligned, I'd say that's a good point to work with you.
Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that so much. And yeah, that's the other point that I wanted to pick up on what you said that I've been thinking about a lot too, which because my Chiron is conjunct my midheaven in my 10th house. And the more I talk to entrepreneurs, get to know entrepreneurs, the reason we do what we do, like a big amount of that decision is obviously driven by desire, but a big amount of that is also driven by pain, right? It's like you don't have a business unless you're solving a problem for somebody. So we have to be able to acknowledge a lot of our desires are born from pain too, right? It's like you went through crazy burnout in your corporate career and I went through burnout working in film industry. We went through, especially when you've had like chronic health situations, it's like we've come up against, and you also have your brown planet is in the 12th house, same as me, which is about like unchangeable situations. And I think, like the patriarchy, like corporate structures, like these things that we're constantly coming up against that they can feel very unchangeable. And it's that pain that really drives us to want to create solutions for others where we've been able to create that, or where we've sought that out for ourselves. And yeah, we're not conditioned to be like, yeah, just talk about your pain. Everyone loves talking about pain, right? Like we're so conditioned to just not share that and to hide it, to act like everything's okay, especially when you're a type A and you've achieved a lot of your successes by just like powering through. But that's where so much of our power lies. And I think, that's why astrology has been so empowering for me personally as an entrepreneur and for my clients as a tool, because it's like we hold all of it, like when you want to bring your whole self to your mission, you've got to bring your whole self. And some of that's really freaking uncomfortable to talk about and to be witnessed in. So I love that you brought that up too. And I think that's such a prerequisite for authentic leadership, right? It's like when we want people to connect with us, when we want them to connect with our mission and vision and to make moves, it's like we have to tell the truth about what it really takes to make that happen and to not sugarcoat it. And I think you do that so beautifully. Like you can tell you have all of this Taurus energy, like you have such a calm and grounded energy, and at the same time you're really powerful and you're really impactful in the work that you're doing. It's deep constructing a lot of these oppressive structures that like you didn't want to settle for, right? And you do that in such an incredible way. So I'm so excited to see you continue to reach more people with your message and with your work. And for anyone who, is either in corporate and looking to shift, or you hear, you have a friend who's complaining about their career or like wanting to go to the next level, like send them to Elizabeth. And will you please tell us, for anyone who wants to learn more about you and your work and what you've got going on, where can they find you?
Absolutely. So they can find me at 2122coaching.com, 2122coaching on Instagram, or Elizabeth Ruscitto on LinkedIn. First, thank you. I received that. I appreciate that too. And I've talked about having several autoimmune diseases and also being a plus size woman. Those are things like the structures in place, like just don't make it easy to exist and exceed and excel in, right? And so entrepreneurship, variable energy, especially some days I have enough to do 8 hours of meetings. Some days I only have one. If a migraine takes me down, right? I have to shift things. So being able to build flexible systems, whether you're in corporate or that, is definitely something I love helping my people do. Helping you figure out, okay, can you not even imagine what's next? Because maybe your nervous system is stuck in such a fight or flight state that it's actually protecting you, because a change is actually really, really dangerous. And so how do we make it safe? How do we get you out of that burnout state? Or whether you've left a really toxic environment or role or relationship or whatever that is, right? How do we get you into a safe, regulated state so that you can stand in your confidence, you really know your story, and then that doesn't follow you into the next chapter, and translate your experience so you can articulate the full value of what you bring to the table, whether it's for your role, your employees, or your clients. And that was the reason I went from making 25 to 300K in just a little over 8 years. Also pairing financial freedom planning with it as well. That way you'll never stay stuck in a role or in, a job or a company that you're trying to build that just really isn't what you're meant to be doing. What I'm really excited about at the end of the day that my clients walk away with is they're able to show up as the exact person that they want to be in every area of their life.
Yeah, I love that. About what you do. As you can tell, Elizabeth is not only a strategic genius, but she makes miracles happen and does it in a very grounded and safe and supportive way. When you're making, what we're talking about here is like really big transitions, right? And so, it's always the number one reason why we haven't made the change that we want to make, or we've resisted it, or we're not even looking at it, is because it doesn't feel safe in some way and we're not resourced. And some of that is like very practical, you know, like creating like literal financial solutions to be able to do that, as well as doing that internal work with our own belief system and what we're willing to even, you know, put our attention to. So, yeah, Elizabeth is amazing. Definitely go check her out. Share her with all of your friends. She also shares a lot of really excellent content, both on Instagram and LinkedIn. So go and get in her world. She's got tons of great resources. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for coming and for sharing all of your wisdom with us today. And for everybody who's listening, if you know someone who would benefit from this conversation, please send it to them. And thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.